Okay, so welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all on the 12th of the 12th, and what an exciting time this is. I'm just going to make sure everybody is being let into the room. Bear with me 1 second. I think somebody was trying to get in. Okay, they'll come back if they're not already in. Okay, excuse the technical difficulties. So Mercury went into retrograde, which affects communication technology. So I don't have a router and I'm tethering on my phone. So hopefully this will work really smoothly. And I'm really enjoying our evening together. It's lovely to see some familiar faces and some new faces. There's quite a few people booked into this, so I'm not sure how many people are coming live and how many are getting the recording. But just a heads up that if you do decide to share, then it will be also in the recording. And if you'd rather not, then that's absolutely fine. You can put things into the chat instead. So while people are gathering and coming into the space, if you'd like to put into the chat how you're feeling today, like where people are at, so I can gauge where we are. Before we begin. Okay, with some more people coming in. Yes, let's see what your message, Dana. Oh, okay, people are in the waiting room. Linda's feeling optimistic. That's great. Feeling well and in need of a little rest and recovery, says Jacqueline in the States. I tell you, I feel that just coming into yourself after not quite being here. Yeah, I know that feeling. Feeling some excitement. So this period, Anthony's really glad to be here. So I would say it's such a joy to see so many amazing people. And I think one of the benefits of this time has been really being able to recognize the beauty in other people and the limitations, and the same in ourselves. It feels like there is more and more veils coming off at the moment in terms of seeing the reality of the world as it really is, not just the world, but most importantly ourselves and our life. And what I feel that really means, especially for women, and it's interesting that it's all women here today, is that how much we've underestimated or undervalued ourselves. Underestimate sometimes makes it feel like an external thing, like something we have to prove, like, oh, I've got to have the 6 figures and the 16 kids and the CEO, or all of that external stuff. But how much we haven't valued ourselves, where our worth has been needing to be valued, and our inner brilliance, that we are all children of God, children of the universe. And that in itself means that we come with inherent birthright. We are born sovereign. We are born with a reason to be here. And yet we can feel as though we have to ask or justify or pay for the water that we need to drink. And all of this distortion that makes us feel less than, less worthy than, and that puts us out of kilter. And this is a time of reclaiming that, finding that, and as we do that, person by person, heart by heart, we shift the consciousness on this planet, we shift the healing on this planet, and we reconnect to Earth and the natural cycles of this planet, and consequently loads of things start to come into balance. And that's why I'm really excited about us joining tonight on this really exciting portal day. It's the beginning of the solstice sort of slope, the roller coaster as we move up. And I'm feeling very Russian today, so I have my hat on. So I'm going to keep on because it's making me draw attention to my crown and connection. So I think most of us, I'm just checking, most of us are in the house who I think are joining live. Maybe we have one or two other people. If you've just joined and you want to put in the chat how you're feeling, then please do. And then we're going to drop into a meditation to open the space. And if you've got cacao, maybe you want to bring that into the space as well. Okay, I gifted myself a new mug from a local potter here, which makes me very happy. Well, he's feeling a bit frantic. Yeah, I feel that one too. Okay. And Alice also feeling a bit rushed. Yeah. Okay, it was that time of year where there's a lot of things pulling our attention, but to be honest, that's been all this year. So much to do, inner work, outer work. Okay, so let's begin by dropping in. So if you want to close your eyes, I'm just going to bring a little chime in to shift the energy, take us out of the day and into this sacred space. So if it feels good to close down the eyes, if it feels good to deepen the breath, maybe breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. If you're feeling a little sluggish and that you want a little bit more zhuzh in your engine, then focus on making your inhales the point of focus and making those longer and shorter exhales. And if you're feeling a bit stressed, a bit tense, then focus on the exhale and elongate that. And if you're feeling pretty centered, then you want to keep the breaths equal. And if all of that feels a bit much, then just allow your body to do its thing. Trust it knows what it's doing and drop into the heart. And when I say drop into the heart, we can focus our energy, our intention towards our heart space. Behind your eyelids, you can look towards the heart. You can imagine the heart smiling. You can imagine it lighting up. I feel it today like a wise elder who's been sitting in the corner of the room. Well, there's been deep discussion and maybe arguments, and then suddenly everybody turns to the elder and says, "What do you think?" And there's such joy in the patience and the wisdom of being recognized and acknowledged finally. And I feel that when we come back to our heart, can really thank us for paying attention. It's been with us all this time, through all our indecision, our lack of clarity. And yet it has unconditional love for us. And we can always drop back in here. What would love do? Maybe asking yourself that now. What would love do? And see if anything bubbles up. Allowing your breath to feed your heart, to take in from the external world whilst you're in your inner cosmos, and allow this energy, this prana, to come down into the heart and activate it, allowing its power to stir. We have much misunderstood the power of the heart. It can often feel like ribbons and petals and chocolates, all of which are beautiful things, but the deep, deep power in the heart is the possibility to alchemize trauma, to unify divide, to change ancestral patterning, to shift consciousness and to elevate our being and our state of life, our real reality, our lived daily experience, and to alter it in such a drastic, in such a beautiful way that it can be so staggering it can bring us to tears. And it's this power that our hearts contain that I invite into the space this evening. That we may feel the true love that we are capable of holding, of emanating, and knowing that this love, this is sacred in nature. This is what makes us sacred. And it doesn't matter how much we with disrespect, we make poor decisions, we run in the wrong direction, whatever wrong may be. It doesn't matter how we learn lessons. This sacred nature is always within us. And we can find it, reconnect to it, remember it by gathering together, by finding stillness in our days, by clearing the veil and recognizing the beauty in life. And if you found any of that challenging recently, maybe asking your heart to help you reconnect to it. Reconnect to the beauty of the water pouring out your tap, or the way the light falls on your pillow. Or the beauty of your own lips in the mirror. Allowing your body to let go of any of the energies that are extraneous to this experience, any density, any stiffness. Just allowing it to drain out through the soles of your feet, asking this delicious planet to turn it into mulch, to alchemize to something beautiful, and allowing there to be space for inspiration, space for expansion, space for more love, being open to receive. And I pray that divine intelligence, that creator, source, God, the universe can be with us this evening or any point that this energy is tapped into, and can help transform suffering and allow the true abundance, the true limitless potential, prosperity, health, heart alchemized warriors of unconditional love on this planet to be able to do their work with grace and ease. Tapping into divine protection, synchronicity, right guidance, intuition, and joy. Breathing into the heart and adding in any prayers, any intentions, any thoughts at the top of your heart at this point into your own space. Feeling so much gratitude for our possibilities of gathering here together at this time. Feeling this energy transcending time and space. So much gratitude for being on the path, for finding deeper and deeper love at this time. And asking that these blessings, the Creator, God is capable, universe, divine mind is capable of bestowing, asking them to rain down on everybody here, and that you may feel worthy and joyful to turn your arms up and absorb them all. Breathing into the heart, gently pressing the feet into the ground, gently squeezing the bum, the fingers, maybe licking the lips, and when it feels comfortable, moving the veil of darkness and coming back into the space. If anyone feels called to put any prayer or intention into the chat, do feel free to share that. If sometimes it can be really powerful to place words, or maybe if you're journaling, if you want to write them down, anything that came up to you at that point. Great. So I've been on a real, and some of you know part of my story, but I've been on a real journey with lack and have had so many realizations in my process of healing it and of clearing it. Part of it has been deep ancestral poverty, like inability to feed. My grandmother was so poor. She was raised by nuns and they didn't feed her. So much so that the Salvation Army saw her on the street, so malnourished, they had to remove her, like, I don't know, like James Bond of the Little Match Girl, and take her out of the nunnery to be fed. And she was, went through huge health conditions because of that malnourishment in her first 12 years of her life. And that kind of imprinting goes into the cell, that kind of trauma they've shown scientifically passes on. So if you come through any kind of poverty or poverty consciousness in your family, let yourself off the hook a bit if you haven't found it easy in this lifetime to find a really comfortable relationship with money, with abundance. And also, as I talk about this, just be aware if any like tinges of like, oh, that sounds a bit greedy or a bit crass or a bit naff to be talking about money. Because sometimes we can not think that here, but we have a physical reaction to it. I notice it in myself sometimes still. And I have to remind myself that absolutely, it'll be wonderful if we can all, you know, gift and barter our way around the world, but it doesn't work like that. And the reason money initially came in was it was simpler to have one current currency that could work for your bananas, for your shoelaces, for your butter, because not everybody wanted your apples. You know what I mean? And so it is made up and it is energy, and there is an unlimited amount of it. And this is why it's lack to limitless, unlimited. And if you know yourself to be a good person, if you know yourself to have integrity and values, and okay, you might want to go and buy a really expensive pair of shoes or handbag or holiday or something that isn't worthy or whatever you deem or judge, that's absolutely fine. But ultimately, if you know yourself to be a good human being, you having lots and lots of wealth is a wonderful thing, not just for you, but for the planet. Because you will allow that energy to flow to people and in ways and means that will create more and more goodness on this planet. And really, the more we understand energy to be money, to be an energy, the more it's helpful to check in with our relationship with it. So there are two ways that we can come out of balance with money and as an energy. One is that we think we're going to run out, there's not going to be enough. And so we don't like spending it. We might have lots of savings. You might have that like old cliche of like the cash under the mattress. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, especially in these times. But you know, you just essentially, you don't want to let go. And so you resent the cost of everything. And the other alternative is that as soon as it comes in, it's very uncomfortable to hold it. So you're constantly giving it away, spending it, overcompensating for things. And so there's a sense of almost not being worthy. Both of these places can come from a lack of worth, a lack of being seen by the universe, a lack of being trust. Just let me maybe put some ones in the chat if you feel that you find it difficult to let go of money, if you more of a sort of, you find it, you're stickier with it, and maybe put some two in the chat if you feel that you can't hold on to it and you need to push it on. Which one your tendency moves towards. Some twos.
Sorry, I missed what was 1 and 2.
So 1 was if you feel that you kind of find it difficult to spend it, and as soon as you get it, you're like, it's in the savings account, it's not going anywhere.
Okay, and I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know which one I am.
Great. Alternating between 1 and 2. Yeah, we can totally have that at different times. Or maybe sometimes we're okay with small amounts of money, but like if a big amount of money comes in, maybe that shifts. Like if you get an inheritance, it's like, oh, you know, or a bonus. Not that I've ever had a job that does bonuses, but you know, that sort of thing, you know, a big sum. Sometimes that can shift how we're all right with small amounts, big amounts we freak out about. And ultimately, like the model that I take for understanding money, and how I've worked with, the amazing money coaches that I have really helped shift me in a deep, profound way, is to look at nature. And actually, I had so many realizations in 2020 when I spent deep meditations in nature, is really looking at the cycles and understanding that, we have to keep allowing money to flow, because there will always be more. There will always be times when there will be less, and there will always be times when there will be more. But if we try to out nature, if we try to constantly be in summer or constantly be in winter, like never let it go, or never let it, never stop it coming, never let it go, never let it come in, then we are working against the trust that there will always be more. Does that make sense? And so the deepest and quickest way to shift this is by gratitude. And I've just changed my practice. My practice for the last 4 months has just been gratitude in the morning and gratitude in the evening before I do anything else. I start all my prayers with gratitude. And especially in weather like this, like gratitude I have a duvet, gratitude I have a roof over my head, but also like gratitude for my tongue and the fact I can taste my delicious cacao or my food. Thank you for my brain. Thank you for my voice. Thank you for my body. We spend so much time beating ourselves up about our split ends or our cellulite or our teeth or our whatever it is. And how much time do we spend into the gratitude for absolutely everything we have, our fingernails, and then if you have children or you have family, before we go into asking for things like, how can we have more gratitude? So in your journals, I'm gonna set an alarm, or not, set a sort of 60-second countdown, and I want you to see how many things you can list in 60 seconds, and there'll be like a prize for the person who gets the most. You don't have to share what they are. So you've got your pen and papers ready, and if you haven't got anything to write with, or you don't want to write, you can do it in your head. And so off we go. Okay, and stop, and then just look down your list and see how many how many things you've managed to write down. And plump in the chat what numbers you got to. And also, if you want to put in the chat if there's anything that surprised you that came out onto your list. Wow, 28, 48, 21. $31. Great. And I encourage you to, if you're ever like really stuck or a bill comes in or, you know, there's ever a block, is just sit there and do something before you, or like if you've got an angry email that you want to send, like just dropping down into gratitude before. It's like such a not even a neutralizing frequency, it's such a powerful frequency that it can really shift stuff. Even if it's like, I'm so grateful for my sacred rage that I get to feel like this, because I felt powerless before I got this email, and now I'm feeling really grateful that I'm angry because it makes me feel like a lion, and lions are cool, like whatever, like, you know, whatever's going to help you shift that energy back into, it's like gratitude is like it's like the reins, like you're on a wild horse of life, and gratitude is like the frequency that give you the reins to help you then move what's happening in a different direction, whether it's feeling like a victim or all of the different things that can make us closed down. And I can't remember who says it, but essentially, like, if abundance is the unlimited ocean of light, like in life, like at least turn up with a bucket so that you're not laughed at by the children. It's like, if you're going to collect abundance from, like, if you're going to walk to collect water, like, you know, when you watch those documentaries and people have to walk to, children have to walk to the well. It's like there's this well that is the unlimited well of abundance. Like, are you rocking up there with like a teaspoon and then like carrying your abundance away, or are you turning up there with a bucket? Or somebody said, what are you turning up there with? And they said, one of those massive tubes that fill up the swimming pool, but like sucking it in the other way. I like that one. That's the one I've stuck with. So think for you, like this unlimited energy of abundance, where are you coming? How are you turning up? What image works for you? So ultimately, when we know that things are unlimited, we can make money very playful. It can be almost childlike. And that has been a wonderful medicine for me, because it was this very serious grown-up thing that I was never educated in, and so filled me with a lot of fear, and that it was something that was out of my control. And a lot of that came from how I was talked to about money when I was little and how I was growing up. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and I'd love you to share and have a chat about what was your experience of money growing up? Like, what were the sort of statements you heard about it? I remember being told, if you work with people, you're poor, and if you work with machines, you'll be rich. And there was a sort of judgment around, if you work with machines, you're a bad person, and if you work with people, you're a good person, and various other things, that you'll never get a mortgage, or struggling artist, starving artist, like all of these nonsense programs that are put into people's minds. So let me put you into breakout rooms. Come on, let's move. Oh no, I don't think I can do it on my phone, unless anybody knows. In which case, I'm going to ask you to feel free to unmute, and anybody who wants to share anything that they remember from their childhood that was super unhelpful.
The only thing I can think you can do, Helen, if you do want to, is make someone else the host and then they do breakout rooms. But I don't know.
Okay. That's very kind.
Having said that, I'm on an iPad and I'm not sure it will work from an iPad either, but
Can you make me a co-host? I just made you a host. Molly, does that work for you?
No, it's not letting me. But I'm on an iPad, so I wonder if it's the same issue that you've got being on a phone.
I'm on a laptop.
So maybe try Dana.
You have to make me the host again.
I have to make you the host. So I don't think. Oh dear. Now I'm not.
If you tap participants and then tap me, it should give you the option to make me a host.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Oh, I could have just done it straight to Dana, couldn't I? That would have.
I'm going to make Dana a co-host, so then I can. There we go. So Dana, if you can make breakout rooms. I'm sorry, people. I'm gutted. I couldn't do this on my laptop. I had all sorts of crackling out today. So Dana, if you want to put people in twos or threes.
How do I make breakout rooms?
Should be an option down the bottom of your.
Okay. It says start focus mode, whiteboards, apps, stop, pause chats, participants, invite, copy link, chat. Oh. Hang on, bear with me. Ask an inviter. Ask auto mute gallery. I'm learning here. I can't. Does anyone know what the breakout room option is?
On a laptop, mine, it's just on the bottom. It just has, it says breakout room. Then you just click it, and then it says randomly assign, or you can assign it yourself. So, but
Okay,
that's on a
so
laptop.
definitely, I'm on a laptop, and I definitely don't have that. I have everything. I have security apps. These apps.
Is it in more? What happens if you click on more?
Start focus mode, reaction, stop, share screen, chat, participant security.
Well, I think the universe doesn't want us to do breakout rooms, so we're not doing breakout. It wants us to, I know sometimes we can be shyer, and especially if there's people we don't know in the group, but I'm seeing that this is a guidance for us to learn from each other, because this isn't just about me talking. This is a space that's about us as women coming together at the cusp of moving into 2023 and the solstice, this Capricorn solstice, which is a real, like, the Capricorn energy is like the going up the mountain. So it's about us getting clear on what we want, not looking at the side at all this poverty consciousness BS, all this lack, but like being clear on who we are and what we're doing, knowing we're worthy to climb this mountain of our life and manifest what we want, the reality we want. And so there's medicine in hearing other people and other women all on this planet, on this path, in this sacred constellation today. So I'm going to open it out. You can share. What I'd love is people to just feel free to share what has been their limitation with money and what they're calling in. And let's work from that space. So anybody like to go first? And I'm holding I've got a really exciting altar going on here. So I'm passing the pyrite round. Some great ink on my wrist from my drawing earlier. If anyone feels brave to share first.
I'll go first if you want.
Absolutely. Is that Alice?
It is, yeah. Hello.
Hello, fabulous artist, Alice.
My limitation with money is definitely feeling like, so I was the youngest child. I think that's got something to do with it, feeling like I'm not responsible enough to look after my money. And I tend to, money comes in and I just spend, it just dribbles out of my hands, basically. Not all on, like, it's not like I'm not the kind of person that would go on like a big shopping spree and spend it hundreds of pounds in a shop like that. It's just, I don't know where it goes. It goes on bits and bobs, and some of that stuff is reasonable stuff, but it's like I have a fear around it. I can feel, and I can just feel the flow going out. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I do try and consciously imagine the flow coming in. But at the same time, I do sort of have a trust, probably again, because I was the youngest child and got quite, if not emotionally looked after, was financially looked after. And so I also am kind of irresponsible in the way. It's also like the other side of it is I kind of always expect I'll be all right in the end. So do you know what I mean? But I feel uncomfortable about I wish I could hold on to it a bit more, or just sit with it a bit more. I think there's part of me also that feels like, yeah, I recognize myself more when I'm kind of don't have as much money. So I just try and get back to like that place. Do you know what I mean? So I just sort of spend it all. So then I can be like, oh, I know that person doesn't have that much. And yeah, and what am I calling in? I guess I'm calling in, I'm calling in more abundance and feeling like totally comfortable with that abundance and at ease with the idea of myself having money and enjoying it rather than panicking about it. And also I think that's probably enough, but maybe on a practical level, just feeling like not frightened to look at it, just being able to feeling, yeah, not in control, because that's not quite the right word, but just, not shying away from the practical side of it as well. Yeah, is that what you wanted me to? Have I answered the questions?
You've done perfect. Whatever you said would have been perfect, but that's ultra perfect. And if it's all right, I'm going to speak to some of that, because I think it's really, there's so much that's really common. Like, is anybody else, just give me a yes in the chat if anyone else, it's like there's things in there that you resonate with, because I'm sure that this speaks to in many ways. And I think that there is an aspect of, yeah, everything is coming in, yeah, exactly. So there's an aspect of us, what we feel that we're entitled to. It's like, if we're surrounded by people carrying teaspoons to the well, if for a while we've got a bucket, we might like hold it behind our back and carry the teaspoon in front, so nobody sort of feels that we're all that because we've got a bucket. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can distort and kind of like play games with ourselves with money and how we operate with it. And like, you know, if someone compliments you on clothes, like how often do we go, oh, I got this in sale, or oh yeah, but so and so passed it down to, oh, I got a discount, or do you know what I mean? Like, we limit our wealth that we have. And there's a book called Half the Sky that essentially, if you had breakfast today, if you've got access to the internet, if you've got clothes, if you are already in like the top 10% of the wealth in the world. And yet we still play this game of how poor we are. And it's not to blame, because we live, that is like the big program that we exist in, is that we always are feeling poor and not enough. But that's why it is such medicine to like just like snip through that. And we can do it in so many ways. So I think what you said about getting up close and personal is really key. Like, if you're scared of money, if anyone's scared of money, getting us like, just get an automatic spreadsheet. You don't need like software-y stuff, and just literally put in every saving, every like what's green, what's red, blah, 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 and do it with like outfit. You can do it like with some drum and bass on, or some candles and incense and wafty music. You can do it, but like without it being, oh my God, I got to get serious and grown up. It's like money is fun. And it's like it's like, imagine if you had Monopoly money, or like counters in Connect 4. It's like, are they yellow or red? And it's like, it can all change. So let's just see where we're at the moment, but getting clear on the numbers. Every time I feel broke, I kind of just look at my numbers and I go, oh, what's all that about? It's all right. Even if nothing's come in for 3 months, and just look and kind of go, oh yeah, but you know, I haven't been ridiculous. It's all okay. And the other thing, so it's like becoming an adult with money. I think, you know, it's the youngest child, like that spreadsheet thing. It's like, no, I know how to do this. And also knowing that we can all commute, you know, if the worst comes to the worst, you can always go out and get a sort of a job for job, right? You can always go and stack shelves, make sandwiches. Like, there's always ways to get money if you need to in that respect. But to be a creator with money, so that it can move and play and flow and open up and become more and more and more, that's when we work with the energy, the frequency of it. And that's where we can be playful. So to sit with, sometimes when we're in the phase of like pushing it out quickly, it's almost like getting unconscious and eating and getting like, oh, we want sugar, so we buy biscuits, we feel guilty, and then we eat the whole packet, and you don't actually taste anything because you've gone into disassociated guilt because you've got a story around what biscuits mean. It's the same thing with like shopping, or like suddenly it's like, oh my God, I've spent all the money, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't sit with it. It hasn't done anything. So if that's the relationship, it's like, right, I'm going to take myself on I'm going to like make love to myself with money. Like, it's not going to be a quick shag. It's like, I'm going to take myself. I don't know where this metaphor is coming from, but hey, I'm going to take myself to like, I don't know, like whatever does it for you. Like, is it the Ritz for tea? Is it to a champagne and oyster bar? Is it to a beautiful like boutique clothes shop? Is it to a really lovely spa weekend? But taking yourself somewhere so that you haven't got the distraction of somebody else. And it's not about, oh, I'm gifting them the experience, and so you're somehow pushing it away. It's like, no, just you with you, with your phone off, not making it an Instagram experience, and like paying with cash. Cash is really good. Like cards are there's such a level of removal from what's actually happening. So if you can pay with cash on many levels, it's great. And like just enjoy. It's like exhaling. It's like spending money is like exhaling, receiving money is like inhaling. Like we get into panic attacks if we're not doing it properly, right? So it's like, and like looking people in the eyes when you give them cash, when you pay, like not being in the corner shop, just like smacking a card around and you didn't even acknowledge who you did the transaction with. And so going into this boutique, this spa, this hotel, whatever it is, and just taking your time. So like being aware of your body in that up-leveled space. Like you have a right to be there, allowing your cells to be like in Gigi price tag land or whatever it is. And enjoying every moment of it. And allowing just any part of you that comes up that is like, I shouldn't be here, or I don't look like these people, or I don't dress like these people, or I've got a hole in my sock, or I hope my husband doesn't find out, or just like breathing into like whatever part that is and letting that part be okay and letting it know it's safe, because that part is feeling unsafe. That's what it's only fear of the lack of safety that kind of rocks us. And knowing that the present moment is all we have, and the better we become at being present and grateful for what we have in the present moment, the more present moments we have with those frequencies of this is enough. And so when we're looking to get more comfortable in up-leveled experiences of life and abundance and get bigger and bigger buckets to go to the well with, and being okay with that, because you can carry more water back for the whole village, you know, or just pour it all over your head, whatever you want, go around and swim in it. So sitting in this space and just being like, oh my God, yeah, I could have gone to Costa, but look at this lovely china, look at this, and think about the artisan that made that china cup, or the painting on it, or the, you know, the coffee, or the, you know, and the nice service, and like just really enjoying what your money is giving you and allowing that to be enough. And then the more and more times that you can, okay, it might not be a spa weekend, but it's stuff that makes you feel worthy and valued as a beautiful human being on this planet. So it might be like, okay, so I did that spa weekend that cost me however much. I'm not going to do that every weekend, but maybe like at least once a month I get a massage, or I get a facial. Or at least once a month, I buy myself, like rather than buying myself 2 or 3 pieces of cheap clothing, I buy myself one really nice thing. And just little things like that really shift how money comes to us in so many weird ways. And it's you can't explain this on like a balance sheet, but it works. Does that make sense? Amazing. Thank you. Anything that you want to feed back to that? It's okay if not.
Just the last thing you said reminded me of, and perhaps this was in a seedier way, but when I was in my early 20s, I used to hang out with this guy called Adrian, and he, like, you know, we never really had any money. He was just like, no, you drink the champagne and somehow you afford the champagne. Like he used to drag me to all these really poncy places, which I felt really uncomfortable in. I had, you know, dreadlocks and like big holes in my jeans, but he'd take me to all these places. And I'm not sure it was quite as conscious, you know, as well thought out from what you said, but it was very like, his view was like, you live the life and then somehow the money just appears to pay for the life. And it did seem to work out for him for quite a while. And we did have some nice experiences, and I'm not any the worse off for it. So yeah, sorry, that just came into my head as you were talking about that. So it's like it's like that, but not with champagne. Just don't drink. But like, yeah, other life stuff. But yeah, thank you, Helen. That's really, really helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And also just something that popped in is like about Christmas, like when we get given gifts, like not saying, oh, well, you shouldn't have, or, you know, all the things we do to push what comes to us away. Like if you get a compliment and you go, oh, it's makeup, or, oh, do you know what I mean? Like we just block things. And it's about, on so many levels, just allowing allowing your good to come to you. And it doesn't have to be money. It's like, you know, would you like a bite of my apple? Yes, please. Or, no, I don't want a bite of your apple, but I'm so grateful that you offered me some. It's, you know, thank you. Anybody else want to share what came up for them about money as a child, or any reflections they've had?
Sorry, I just wanted to follow up on what Alice said, the story about Adrian. So my parents have spent as long as I remember, their lives being very careful about money and managing, and the opposite of, if I just spend it, it will appear. They're like, well, we've got it and we're going to stash it. And I've seen them recently and they seem quite in lack. So, but given that they've spent their entire lives trying to hoard this stuff, they don't seem to have very much of it now. And it just seems to be the flip side of spend it and it'll come your way, but also hoard it and it kind of seems to just kind of dissipate and stop coming your way anyway.
Yeah, it's they're both, it's like they're not having the inhale. It's like either like not inhaling or not exhaling.
Yeah, it's not allowing the flow.
Yeah, money likes to move. It's an energy, and if you don't spend it, then it doesn't know it needs to come to you. It's like our relationship with food. It's like if you starve yourself, your body feels like it's going to starve, so it retains all the calories, right? It doesn't burn fat. It like stores it because it feels like you're going into winter. And it's the same with money. And that's why when you look at, it's why it's so interesting. It's like, so talk about Adrian, who Adrian could be anybody. Let's call him Jim or Jane or whatever. If that person can carry on with that, you know, we drink the champagne and the money appears, that's great, as long as the mindset still stays healthy. But if trauma or you know, something starts to happen where it becomes entitlement and the ego creeps in, then that's when things can start to, so that's why gratitude is always the healing frequency to come back to. So like, be grateful for what you have, because otherwise it can, you know, it can disappear. If we're grateful for something, we can always get more of it, or it becomes easy for the universe to give us more because we're open. If it's like, oh, I've got this and it's not good enough, I deserve champagne, why have you given me Prosecco? It's a different energy. Knowing always that there's ebbs and flows. And recognizing that things can come to us beautiful, unexpected ways, like this beautiful bracelet I got in the post.
Looks lovely.
So, be happy.
Can I just just following on from what Alice said as well, it's very similar. What you described, Alice, is like, you just, that was really that was really lovely. But I think mine is slightly different in that my parents both grew up very, very poor, and then both strive really hard to have jobs where they had money. So I mean, that's where me and Alice met at a private school, when both our families are kind of working class families who kind of wanted to be middle class. Kind of, my parents had very mediary jobs, wanted to be seen to be like, they sent me and my brother to private school specifically because they wanted us to meet other rich people and to be friends with other rich people, because they thought that would mean that would be a good thing. Similarly, and they both had very well paid jobs. You know, my dad was in advertising in the 80s, you know, and but he died 100 grand in debt because he just couldn't, you know, that yeah, and saying no to things was just like, my mum's motto was always, you know, that money is there to just make life easier. You know, your money is not for holding on to, money is absolutely for just oiling the wheels of life. So there's no point in holding on to it. And I think my dad didn't want to say no to anything really. So that was I just don't look at money. So your comment about the spreadsheet, I was like, yeah, that fills me with dread, but is absolutely the kind of thing I should do. But the way, making it into a playful, grown up but playful thing, feels like a really good idea. Because I'm just kind of like la 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 la. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm just one of those, like, I'll just put it on the card and just go la la la. I don't spend frivolously, but similarly, it just dribbles out my hands, and I'm somehow never have enough. So yeah, but equally have some kind of trust, that I'll be okay. But I think it's a kind of la 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 la, it'll be okay, rather than like, it'll be okay, kind of that sort of.
So what I'm hearing is that there's a real, like, there's a checking out of when it's spending, like it's dribbling out. It's like the eating the biscuits and not being aware you're eating the biscuits. Because there's some uncomfortableness with the money.
Yes, really uncomfortable. So not wanting to be, from a very, also my parents not wanting to be, they weren't showy or anything. It's not like we had flashy cars or anything, but they just wanted, you know, I don't know. There's also that kind of hiding the bucket behind your back as well, kind of that.
So what's coming, like the image I'm getting just before even you said that, is like, have cash out, like have cash on your dressing table, like have it on your nightstand, like have it in the bathroom pinned to the bar, like just have it around. And it's going to feel like that's going to be really, like, I don't know, audacious or ridiculous, or like Lady Gaga's dresses everywhere or something, but like, just see it like it is a thing. Like you would have glasses of water around. How does that feel?
Yeah, that feels it. When you said that, though, it reminded me, my dad always used to have a wad of cash in his pocket, and I think he quite enjoyed that. Even when, even when everyone was using debit cards, he'd always have like just a wad of cash in his pocket. When he was in hundreds of thousands of pounds of debt, no one knew that. By the way, he was spending money as if, I think he'd bought a new car for his wife at the time recently. So no one. It was so. It's just that kind of. So it did make me feel a bit uncomfortable. That kind of like.
So the good thing about, so the uncomfortableness is great because it shows that there's medicine there. And so by seeing cash, it stops it being scary or vulgar. And by having the spreadsheet, the thing about having that is that you're going to be accountable, that if you're not going to end up 100 grand in debt. Do you know what I mean? Like you can see it. But also the thing about debt, I was always told, like, never spend what you don't have. But at the same time, all the richest people that I'm aware of take risks. And that's where my relationship with God comes in, and doing our work, on the universe, like, and also doing your work on yourself. So you're aware if you are playing out some trauma wound by going, oh my God, I'm going to put 200 grand car on my credit card and screw the world. Like, do you mean, like, that's a different response to what is my heart truly calling for me? Or my heart wants me to go and climb Kilimanjaro. I have no idea why. I have no idea how much it's going to cost me, but that's what I'm being called to do. So that's what I'm going to do. And then who knows that on the way to Kilimanjaro, I meet the person who's going to be the love of my life, and how much that opens up my life, or whatever it might be. Or to go on this holiday. So many times, like when we get really stressed around money or about life or losing a job, and it's like, if we can check into our heart, it probably tells us to do exactly the scariest thing, that is not sit down and get a job or sit down and rewrite your CV. It's like, what does my heart need? Oh, it wants to go and be somewhere hot for a week. But when we listen to that, we allow trust, and it's like we have to leap for the universe to catch us. And that's different. I mean, that's different to going, no, or got to make it happen. Yeah. And I'm speaking to sort of everybody, but it's really helpful when people share, because there's so many overlaps for us all. So thank you, Molly. Does anyone else have anything they want to agree with or bring into the space?
I have a few. I've got everything that Molly and Alice brought, but I think I mean, it's complicated. I think both my parents were quite poor, but they had different attitudes when we were growing up, and I think I could talk about that for ages. But I think for me, as people were talking, I think if I distill the difficulty, I was the kind of kid, I hated Monopoly. I really didn't care. I just thought it was the most boring game in the world. And I think it's about being worthy. So if receiving money is like, I deserve it, I always have to justify spending, either because it's needed to be spent or giving to someone else is very easy for me. So I had to work quite hard about not pouring money out to other people. But also kind of disassociating if I spend on myself. I think it's really hard because I do spend. I said I'm a 2. But I think as everybody was talking, I think I'm probably less associated when I'm spending, because it's just not comfortable to spend on myself. And it sort of was the case of you have to justify it. So that's one element. And so that I had. And the other element I had is money is there to serve, to make life easier and to spread happiness and joy. And sort of, I need to just get used to me. And so when I very rarely do frivolous things, but when I did, I remember a few months later, my mom said to me, well, just sell it. I bought that camper van. She said, well, just sell it. How, what did you do? You know, it's like, there was a lot of guilt for me about doing that, so much so that I didn't get to enjoy it. I reflected on last year, I hardly went in it. And I think it's because it was just an act of something I've always wanted, fulfilling a dream. And I can't fit my body into this dream. You know, I can't actually go out and just go, look at that. I'm not there yet. It's a process. And then the other element is that in my family, at least, is you don't, it's just totally bonkers. So both my brothers have done really, really well. And as they've done really well, they've become really stingy, like really, really well, like really, really, really well, both of them at different times. And so there's this thing of not showing. So on the family WhatsApp, when people go on holidays, they stop sending pictures. So nobody else in the family would know anything about them. So it's like, this is just nuts. So there's that thing going on in my family. But for me personally, it's like, you have to work hard to get it. You don't just deserve it. And about that's frivolity, is that a word?
Frivolity, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I can't, it doesn't sit with me yet, you know. I either completely disassociate but I mean, I've got lovely things, I've got a lovely space, I've got a lovely home, but I had to justify it all. And I still don't feel like I'm grounded in money, you know, like it's okay to have it. It's okay. I'm not grounded with it. And I'm not doing a spreadsheet. No, I did it lots and lots of times, but I never look at it afterwards. I did it many times and I go, oh, I haven't checked it. It's just there's no music that will induce me to do it. Yeah.
Well, I found my journey with it. I'm often like that, and things are like to get my tax returns for my accountant ready and things like that. But actually, the more I do it, the more sort of empowered and before we close today, I'm going to give you a whole load of books and tools and things that can help shift. Like there's so many like different ways into this and it's, you know, as I said in the blurb about today, it's like, the programming is so deep about money. And as women, you know, we were second we got married, like the money was to our husbands. Like we couldn't earn money, we couldn't hold money, we didn't inherit the money, it went to the sons. Like it's just been told we're not allowed to have it. And so as women, to have it, to own it, to feel good with it, like it's that we're like the first generation in many cases in our family that can kind of be in this space. And so it's deep, deep work, and it's, please don't anyone make yourself wrong for like not finding it easy, or not, you know, because we're carving out new ways. And also what money is and how we understand it to be is changing so much at this time. And I think in the next 10 years, it's going to change hugely again. I think it's really important to have, you know, different, I don't like those words I just used. I think it can be fun and helpful to have different ways that money can come to you, rather than just be reliant on one source of income. So if you do have a full-time job and, like, you know, you have an employer, like also having, oh, I don't know, like I don't know, holding a monthly group, or that something is, or doing something that's occasionally like the donation based, or holding a, you know, bring your own clothes, let's have a clothes swap thing, or you write some things to local paper, or, you know, just little things. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you can get paid a tenner every now and then, but it's just like having different ways that money can come into you, or you have investments or whatever it might be. Because if money likes to move, it can move in many different ways, and it means there's far more possibilities of the how, which is God's business, which is the universe's business, to solve any problems. So if you get in a position where you're like, oh, there's a bill come in and I don't know how to pay it, rather than going into, oh my God, I don't know how to pay it, you know, it's like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. All the bits of me that are scared and running around and headbanging the wall, come here, sit in my lap. Dear God, the universe, source, all that I don't understand. I'm really curious. How do we work this one out? I'm really excited to see how this one gets paid, because this is big. This is exciting. Come on, I'm open for miracles. Guide me, heart. What should I be doing right now? And that's such a different way than getting really stressy about stuff, because the system is designed essentially to say no. Do you know what I mean? Like the system, like none of it makes sense. Like the whole kind of, like, you can go all down the rabbit holes about what your birth certificate means and these numbers and that numbers, but essentially money is energy, and energy is unlimited and never stops. We're not on the gold reserve anymore. It's all made up. So it can come to us in many, many, many different ways. Before I move on, is there anyone else who'd like to share? And we're not in a rush, so if you're feeling called, if you want to say something, the floor's absolutely open.
I was just going to say, actually, like after listening to Dana, a lot of what she said really resonates completely, that kind of not feeling worthy or comfortable. Like when you were saying, I think it was to Molly, about sticking cash on the wall or something, I felt my whole body just like, oh God. And I was like, oh, that's clearly something I should do. And I think because both my mum lost her house when I was younger, and then my dad's house got repossessed that we had to move into because my mum, that house had gone. So yeah, like 15, I kind of ended up homeless when my dad just left. So it was like, I don't know, quite a shock, I suppose. And my mum took ages to get back on, well, not back on her feet, but in a position with money, because she grew up with nothing at all, whereas my dad came from quite a wealthy family. And yeah, and bless her, whenever she got anything, it was for Best, and Best never came. So, you know, she had a wardrobe full of clothes with always reduced, but always with the tags on, never worn. And then there was one point that she got burgled by this lady that she knew, that took loads of these clothes and various bits and bobs she had that she'd never worn, all with the labels on, or in perfect condition, in plastic, some of them. And even then she didn't think, I need to wear these clothes, or I need to enjoy these things, or have this out, because she was always so scared. And it's like, I think I'm a bit like that, where I'm kind of so scared that yeah, I mean, I can spend on other people, a bit like Dan was saying, but when it comes to me, I'm like, oh God, that's a bit extravagant. It's only me, or do you know what I mean? And yeah, so it's quite, and I think it probably comes from being around that sense of like holding on, but then equally you'll lose it. And the very few times I have been like, right, I'm going to invest, and being a bit like, you know, David Dickinson, I'm like, right, I'm gonna get buy some shares. And honestly, I've literally put some money in something and lost the whole lot. And it's like, oh, but equally, I didn't do any research. I was like, yeah, listen to someone else. Yeah, and lost like most of my savings. So yeah, I guess maybe the lessons there are researching rather than just going like balls deep, I'm in. But equally, I don't know, feeling worthy and being comfortable with it. So I might stick some notes up on the wall.
Stick some notes up on the wall. You got some real gems in there. Thank you. I grew up with grandparents also, you know, things for best. Totally. That was a thing that, and also the plastic on the back of the chair. So like the doily didn't, like the chair from Oxfam didn't wear out. Like, you know, like just all those lots of weird things like that. Yes, but you know, all we have is the present moment, and it's like this universe. Like we always have to, everything is a contradiction. So yes, all we have is this present moment, but also we do have to plan for the future. But also, all we have is this present moment. And also, the more we trust in our present moment, the more the future is provided for, because the more we are becoming somebody who will always be able to provide for their future by being our ultimate self in the present moment. So the stronger and more excited and appreciative we are of money in the present moment, the more the future moments are catered for, because it's not linear. It's not linear. And so with investments and research, yes, I've also been stung massively by just going, oh yes, oh, getting excited. I've got, but I lost. I put a lot of stuff into things like that because it was so new for me that I was like, oh, I'm the sort of person who can get into crypto and do this. And I got into a bit of a frenzy, not a frenzy, but, you know, I got ungrounded with it and got excited by it and did some things. But I don't regret doing them because there was so much medicine in me being able to use money like that. Quibbled over like, which does the 24, it's 24p cheaper in that shop, so I'm going to walk the extra 5 minutes. And then suddenly I'm plonking £1,000 into something that I haven't researched, and I've got excited. And it's like, oh, but that's how I can be. Like, if there was medicine in me being able to act like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And losing things and then realizing you've still got a roof over your head. It's like you know, it's like food. Sometimes you do get food poisoning once or twice in your life, maybe 10 times if it's what you tell your employer. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's times where we just have to get a bit sick or something, and it's part of the game.
Yeah, that's true though, what you just said then, totally. Like, you know, if I don't know, you buy something and then the next day it's in the sale, for example, and it's like 20 quid cheaper, and you're like, oh, for God's sake. Whereas, yeah, when I made my investments in those shares, and it's like, I just literally just threw away like thousands, but it doesn't bother me for some reason. I just think, oh, well, I tried something, didn't work out. Whereas losing like the £20 in the shop, I'd be like, for God's sake, I really beat myself up about that. It's like, that makes absolutely no sense, does it? Like, when you look at the differing amounts, it's like, why is that? I don't know.
I think there's a couple of things, and it's great to know that your mind can be okay with that, and like what is the medicine there, and also understanding like the lesson about what that is the, say the jumper's 100 quid or it's 50 quid, it's the same jumper, but the value hasn't changed. It's just what somebody's prepared to pay for it that's changed. And that's the same about anything. It's about how you, the kind of jobs that you apply for, or how you value yourself or your time, or, you know, it's like what we think something is worth is what it's worth. It's like art, but everything is like that. Do you know what I mean? Or was that a bit convoluted?
Yes.
Yes, a bit convoluted. So when you're looking at the jumper and going, oh, I could have got it for cheaper, it's like, but what if it's a 40 quid jump, you know, 100 quid jumper, and you paid 100 quid for it? That was a fair exchange. The part of you that is angry that you didn't get it in the sale is believing that you don't have enough money and that you needed that money for something else. Whereas if I was to say, you know, if you were to know that you're going to walk around the corner and someone's going to give you 3 grand, that 50 quid difference in the sale makes no difference. Because it's not about the jumper. The value of the jumper hasn't changed. It's to do with how you perceive how much you have and your ability to allow more in. And some people wouldn't want to buy it in the sale because they'd want to feel the difference of owning a jumper that wasn't in the sale and was 100 quid.
Yeah.
Because that makes them feel like they're more likely to get more things that allow them to buy the 100 quid jumper. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe re-listen to this as well. It might be helpful for other things, like even just to hear things again, just let them sink in and percolate more from everybody to everybody, that is.
In all of this talking, something comes up for me about worthiness. And then my next thought was, because I had just been pondering how breathing, when you mentioned breathing in, inhaling and exhaling, and my mind started going off on the similarities and just being comfortable with money coming in and breathing in and money going out. And then I'm like, when the word worthiness popped in my head, I'm like, you know, you don't have to be worthy to breathe, for goodness sake. You know, I mean, good grief. That's not, you know, we don't put that stigma on our breath, for goodness sake. Why do we put it on money? I'm trying to wrap my head around all of these random thoughts coming in, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's so true. But we do, right? But if you were an alien or something coming down to this planet, and it's like, oh, what do you need in order to live? And it's money, and it's like, but we have all this shame or guilt around it.
Yeah, and guilt, yeah, because I know, like, I remember I was really young and I was really proud, and my first husband and I we were separated, and I was getting a new job, and I was so proud that I was able to bargain, and I made a deal, you know, that, okay, well, I'll take this job if they'll pay me this much. And I was like shocked that they agreed, you know. And I was talking to my mom about it. She's a surgical nurse, right? And she's my mother. She's got a lot of time in to be a surgical nurse in her education and in her career. And I was going to be making more money than her. And her reaction was almost made me feel guilty that I was able to get a job that had more money. You know what I mean? So somewhere in my upbringing, that guilt or worthiness of, you know, I don't know how to finger it quite, but there's something there.
Well, I think that it's, you're not alone. And it stems from the days when there was like the landowner, and then there was everybody who worked the land for the landowner. And one person made all the profit and lived in the big house and had the heating and all the lovely food, and everybody else was exploited by that person. So if you have a low income, like you earn a solid, all these terms that we have, like you earn an honest day's wage. So there's something dishonest about being able to earn money through the internet or be well paid for something. And there's a sense of like the metaphor of like, as soon as a crab starts to crawl out the bucket, all the other crabs try and pull it down. So don't show yourself up. My mum got into what's it called, past her 11 plus, and was going to go to the grammar school, but she was so ashamed, she came from a council estate, that she didn't tell them she'd passed, so she went to the local comprehensive. It's sort of like this keeping ourselves small. It comes from, I think, this ingrained sense of still back in the day when we were working the land.
Okay.
And I think that thing of, I think there's a really powerful exercise I'll share, which is to write letters, first of all, to work with your mother and then to work with your father, and to write out all the contracts, all the unspoken contracts that you've got with your mum, whether they're still on the planet or not, whether you've got with your mum, and all the unspoken contracts that you've made with your dad. And just brainstorm and see what comes up, because I realized so many things, like, you know, I won't leave you behind, which is like, so my mum was so resistant when I stopped drinking, because we used to bond over a bottle of wine. And it's like, you know, if I'm going to change too much, I'm going to not stay with her. Or, you know, like I've worked with people who, you know, have a really successful business, but their father feels like they're being shown up because the daughter's more successful than him, so they sabotage the business because subconsciously they've got this contract that you'll always be the big man. So it's worth just spending some time when you've got an afternoon to yourself, just sitting down with a cup of cacao, cup of tea, sitting down in a cafe somewhere and just making, you know, just journaling, just seeing what comes out. And then, you know, most of the healing is just bringing that into awareness, realizing where those points are in you, and then just writing a new story, like a new mantra, like it's safe for me to be successful and still love my parents. It's safe for me to not drink alcohol and have a different identity to who I was when I was a teenager and love my mother. You know, all of these things that that are running the show.
That's a great idea. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really helped me. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to share? So, here are some fun things to shift money. Think about what your wallet is like. So is it stuffed with receipts? Has it got like 16,000 like coffee club reward cards in it? Have all got like 3 stamps that you're clinging onto, because if you spend another 40 quid, you'll save £1.50. Has it got any cash in it? Is it like 20 years old from Primark? You know, or have you got some like Gucci wallet that you were bought from a present and you've never used it, it's under your bed and you're using a shoebox? Like, what is yours? Because a wallet, we can think of it, if we think of money as like this magical energy, like the wallet is like the sorcerer's bag, like it's a sacred object. And so changing, you know, having a wallet that makes you feel really present and conscious every time you get it out your bag. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to make you feel good and like looking at it when you bring it out. And so potentially some homework for yourself. If you want to buy yourself a present at this time of year, it's always good to gift yourself as well. Get yourself a beautiful wallet. And get rid of any cards that you don't need to carry around. Have a even if you don't get a new wallet, like have a declutter. Like there's a sense, you know, all these store cards and things. Like some things are helpful, but most of them aren't. And if it's, you know, if it's business cards and things like that, like have little pots that mean you don't have to constantly carry it around, to carry around other people's energy. Be really conscious. That's why photos are good. If, you know, people you love, not people who make you feel crap, in your wallet. Another top tip is bills. When bills come in, especially if they're things that we like consciously disagree with, like council tax or gas and electricity, once you realize how it all works, you can either choose to kind of go down rabbit holes and work out how to shift paying them or not. But if it's a bill to pay, is to get grateful money in your account to pay it, or great that it exists. So at the moment in the UK, we've got all this stuff with the cost of living crisis, and the price of energy going up. And, you know, like at the beginning, I was like, right, it's me versus the cost of living crisis. I'm just not going to turn my heating on. Screw them. And then I was really cold. I'm like, what is this battle, Helen? Who's going to win here? There is no winner. There's just cold Helen. This is ridiculous. So now I have my heating on, and I'm just like, the game is, I am so grateful. I am so grateful I have a heating to put on. I'm so grateful I have a warm house. I'm so grateful, you know, I have hot water bottles and this amazing system that works. And I'm so grateful for all the expanded abundance that's coming in to pay for it. It doesn't matter if my bill's gone up 900%. I'm so grateful because it's all a game anyway. Well, you know, there's just, I see, you know, the corruption in the world as, rather than being furious with it, it's like you can make it playful. Okay, if you know, if people are coming at us with, you know, I don't know, corruption, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to grow bigger and I'm just going to have more, so that it doesn't matter if you're asking for that or this. It's like when you see an ex or something and you're like, oh my God, it's like, no, you want to be like in your sass, in your power. It's like, I'm so over you, it's okay. Like, it's that place. It's like, nothing is bigger than you. You know, you were this divine being. I mean, all of that's like egotistical examples, but ultimately it comes down to, we are all equal, and you are equally worthy of being heated and warm and having food and water and breathing and money and abundance flowing in and out than, you know, anybody in a castle or a palace. And having met some of the richest people in the world through such bizarre when I was in my greatest points of lack in my life, when I was in my 20s, I was serving canapes to, you know, Mr. Mittal, who owns all the iron and steel in the world, and the Queen, and, you know, and I was serving these people drinks and food, and none of them seemed happy or grateful that they had Monets and Mona Lisas and, you know, things around. So money can't make you happy, but it can be a lot of fun. And it can also give you the means to change and shape and shift your experience and reality on this world. Does anybody have any top tips that they want to share about how they shift money?
It's not a top tip, but just from what you're saying about gratitude, just reminded me of in the summer where I was so, like, I was trying to manifest money because I was really panicked about money, but truth be told, I think I was manifesting from a place of panic. So it was just, you know, I wasn't relaxed about my manifesting. And I felt, and it was after you talked about like drawing the, you know, you talked about drawing I think you said an upside down penis, but there's probably a better word for it, like a chest tube.
An upside down penis is a great word for it, like a thermometer. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, filling up as your money comes in, sort of having a goal at the top. And I was really, really far from that goal. And it was just, you know, and it was coming to the end of the month, and I physically felt myself shift my focus from this, like, oh God, I need this money, it's not coming in, and like, oh, like, please, you know, I don't know, like, or even thinking I have this money, but from a really like manic place. And then I shifted the narrative in my head because it was coming to the end of the month and the money hadn't come in. So I was just like, you know, fuck it. And then I started to think about all the things I had, like all the money that was already in my bank account, my house, like all the things we're saying. And I started to be really grateful and realize, and I remember really consciously thinking, I'm already rich, so it's fine that money's not come in. Because when I say I'm rich, I don't mean, do you know what I mean? I just meant I'm already have all this abundance around me. And I genuinely moved into that place. And then when I came home, because I was on holiday at the time, and I sort of forgot about the manifesting, and I was just more in that space. And I came home to a tax rebate of like £2,000, and it was literally, I mean, I couldn't repeat it. I tried to repeat it the next month, it didn't work. But but for that moment, I was like, wow. But it really did feel like it kind of was as a result of letting go of the wants and the need, and just being kind of happy with what I already had. So I just thought, so it's not a tip, but it's a share.
That's a brilliant. Can I? Sorry, who was that?
Oh, that was me.
Gail, was you? Someone just unmute?
I did.
Jacqueline. Gail.
No, Gail did. Me. I did.
Yes. Hi, Gail. One moment, can I just speak to what Alice just said, and then I'll come to you. Thank you. So this is such a key thing, and it's one of those hairline things the universe gave us to like walk on. It's that, like, yeah, set the intention, get the clarity, have the excitement and the anticipation about manifesting it, but let going of the need and the want. So I had such a prime example of this last week. Somebody had ordered next day delivery cacao, and like I hardly ever get those because it's a real pain, because I have to like suddenly go, oh my God, and drop everything and get to the shops and post it, right? It's not like it puts me into a moment of like they need it for tomorrow. So somebody did that, and I rushed to the post office, and there was a queue around the corner, and I thought, okay, I nipped to a shop, rushed back, queue was still around the corner. I had to go home and interview somebody. I messaged them, could we start half an hour later? I just need to post something. And she said, no, I can't move it, I've got meetings. I said, don't worry, I'll rush home. I rushed home. She said, oh, I thought we were cancelling. So the meeting was off. So then I was like, oh, well, I'll go to the office just before it closes. So then I went back to the post office for the third time, got to the front of the queue, went next day delivery, and she said, oh, it's not going to go till tomorrow now. And I was like, but what? But it doesn't close for 15 minutes. Why not? She went, it's not. And I was like, but please, it's got to. It's my third trip here. No. And I was like, but haven't you got any ferries out the back that could take it? You know, I was trying all the tactics, ridiculous humor. She was just getting more and more irritated by me. And it was like the computer said no, like, no, it's not going. And I was like, okay, well, thanks so much. It'll get there when it gets there. Paid for it, stood to the side. You know, I was doing my app thing to tell somebody I'd, you know, taking the photo of the receipt and the code. And then she just looked at me. She huffed, she stood up, she picked up the parcel, she walked out the back, she came back and said, it's gone, we've got a very nice postman. So all that time she could have taken it, and I was me pleading and yearning and making jokes about fairies, and the system was like, no, because my wanting and my manic, like running backwards and forwards energy, right, of needing it to go. But as soon as I got into like, well, I tried my best, it's up to the universe, it could go, because I'd focused my intention, I'd put the effort in, and then I'd surrendered. And that sounds like the same process you had, Alice. And so it's not making the trying wrong or the needing wrong, but knowing that you can have that and then let go and then trust what's meant to happen will happen. And it isn't that you have failed if you haven't got the right amount on your upside down penis in the column, but trusting that what's meant to come will come.
It's a bit like those people that do the lottery, isn't it? And it's kind of like you have to be in it to win it, but there's people that really believe they're going to win and just do it, you know, direct debit every month and don't really think about it and then win. Whereas there are other people that are just either do it hoping and dreaming, and other people that don't do it at all. I mean, personally, I don't ever do it, but yeah, you do hear that, don't you, from people that they win because they really believed it. So
yeah, exactly. There's no point buying a ticket and thinking you're not going to win. Let's put it that way. Sorry, Gail. Yeah, let me come back.
Oh, that's okay. We can move on. I kind of lost my. I think you covered
sorry.
it. I think
Okay.
you kind of covered it.
Great. Does anyone else have any stories of? Oh, Linda, yeah.
I just wanted to share. I think it's a really strong example that I've observed over the weekend of blocking. So again, I was at my parents' house the other day, and they have mats on their floor so they had mats down to protect the flooring. So they've got flooring and they've got mats, and that's where they put their dirty wellies. But they don't put their dirty wellies on the mat. They put their dirty wellies on cardboard that is protecting the mat, that is protecting the floor. And I just thought, that's really odd, because it's like, that's what the mat is there for. And when the mat gets full of mud and it gets wrecked, it's only a tenner to buy a new mat. And it just seems so extreme. And yet I know that if that mat got worn out and I tried to buy them a mat, they wouldn't want me to do that. And I just thought, you couldn't block it any more strongly than just going, oh, we'll just put our wellies on the mat, and then when the mat gets muddy, we'll just buy a new mat. It just caught my eye, because it just seemed so, the fear around using a mat and letting it get muddy and then having to replace it over something so cheap and so easily accessible, and just, it just spoke to me of just the fear of just using something and wearing it out and making it not be brand new anymore. And it was the thing about the plastic on the back of the chairs, and when you buy it,
it's the best.
Yeah, exactly. You buy a vinyl album and you keep that cellophane stuff on it with the price sticker on the cellophane, and it's that saving things for best. Yeah, it just really struck me.
Thank you, because you're also bringing up another point that I really want to speak to, which is sustainability, and how there's such a really fine line around poverty consciousness and sustainability in our relationship with it. And I know, because I lived in this space for a really long time and I was such an eco warrior, but it was actually, and a lot of that movement is hijacked in many ways to to derail actually what it is. Because I'm a huge lover of the planet, and I don't believe in willy-nilly, you know, like frivolous over like greed and overconsumption. But at the same point, we can keep ourselves in such a bind that's a disservice to the planet. Like, this is an abundant planet that, left to its own resources, is like phenomenal. It's not overpopulated. It can heal itself. We just need to get out of the way and not be ridiculous. But essentially, the more resources you have, the more that you can choose to buy and support companies that are more expensive, that make things and pay people properly, that use, you know, great fabric that isn't over farmed in, you know, cheap cotton and all of that stuff. So in many ways, having a deeper, richer flow of abundance allows you to spend and support things that are there. And so much of, many of you mentioned like money dribbling out, and often that's when you try and buy, you know, you buy cheap, you buy twice and things like that. So often, you know, like having a really nice keep cup, so you don't need disposable coffee cups and things like that. Alice has one. But also it's about removing the fear, which I had buckets of, and the guilt that I had to and like also scorning other people for like having plastic bags and like having so much anger at them for it. And actually that is toxic, like sending out all those mental bullets at people and judgment, because when we can be fully in our own like sovereign consciousness and love, just take full responsibility for yourself. Trust that the person, trust that the consciousness that was able to create the human body, the entire ecosystem of animals and the planet and the cosmos and all of it that we only know a fraction of, is okay with whatever the hell's going on at the moment for whatever reason. And that ultimately we know in our heart whether we are over consuming or not. And by investing in ourselves as a being of this planet, we are also investing in the planet. And scrimping on ourselves is scrimping on the planet. It's like not appreciating being in a beautiful forest of flowers, you know. Like the things on this planet are here for us to enjoy, like beautiful clothes, beautiful food, beautiful experiences, beautiful people, you know, soul level. And when we get into such fear around all of that, it's like, don't turn your heating on, don't have hot water, don't fly, don't have a car, don't exist, feel guilty for everything, don't have children. You know, it's like if you take that to that degree, it's like, you know, the agenda is the eugenics agenda. It's like, don't be here. It's not godly, it's not wholesome, it's not, you know, appreciation and being available. And that's why it's as important to be able to let it go and give and support other people as it is to come in. Does that make sense?
I have a story about that. But I'm actually proud of myself for standing up to someone at work who is very wealthy and notoriously tight and has a very big house. And he told me the story, trying to have a dig that, you know, I have my central heating on, and he said, oh, our house is very cold. And I said, oh, how cold is it, David? Is it, how have you got your heating on to? He said, oh, we've got it to 14, you know, because the planet, we're trying to conserve resources. And I said to you, I bet you're happy that you found a social context where your stinginess has a value. And I was like, oh my God, that's the wittiest thing I've ever said to anyone on the spot who was trying to shame me into being warm in my house.
Yeah. The thing is that the solutions to everything to do with energy exist. They're being held back like that. So that's not something to feel guilty about. And if when we're cold and frozen, we're not in a place where we can find solutions, right? We have to feel, for me, I've realized when I feel cold, I don't feel safe. And if I don't feel safe, I don't make decisions that are from the heart, that are aligned, that are going to support my future or anybody else's. I can't serve my clients. I can't turn up and be in a good place that is going to help create goodness on the planet and uplift and support people to be inspired if I am in a place of like starvation, frozen, not resourced. It's the same like as a parent, right? Like you can do your best parenting when you've had enough sleep and food in your tummy and all of those things. And feeling guilt and shame is just, it's by design to make us feel those things. So as we're coming towards the end of our time together, there's some top tips I want to leave, and then I want to drop into a meditation to close. So some great books that I go to time and time again are Jen Sincero's You're a Badass at Making, can't say in an English accent, You're a Badass at Making Money. She's great. Florence Shovel Shin is an absolute genius from the turn of the century, all about like wealth consciousness. And what's wonderful, if anybody's got an Audible account, all her complete works have just been made free in Audible.
Can you say the name again?
Yeah, Florence Shovel, Shovel, Shin, Shinn. She talks about money being basically God, but like from a very kind of like non-Christian, but like just like God, you know, like you can praise God through money. Like I'm not selling it well, but it makes it deep. It makes money spiritual. And she talks about God in terms of like creator, divine mind way. But she's this American, like just paradigm shattering, amazing woman who self-published these little pamphlets. And suddenly she was writing all these books and they were just changing so much in America in the Great Depression. You're a badass at making money, Florence Shovel Shin. Now, there is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which you can also get for free on YouTube as an audiobook. I take that with a pinch of salt. Like there are some good like kind of money life lessons in there, but also I think the money energy piece is the most important. So that's why I preface those two. And I think also, especially as women, like like the feminine power is in through yin, it's through magnetism, it's through looking after ourselves in order to resource and create. Like if you want to grow the baby, you've got to feed yourself well, you've got to water, you've got to rest, you've got to follow what your body needs. I think we're the same for how we create money. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is very left brain, but it's helpful to have that in the same way it's helpful to have the spreadsheet. Looking at your wallet, looking at what are the things that you tell yourself on a daily basis around money. Like where are you going to go? I can't afford it, or not for the likes of you, or at the end of the month, or you know, all of these bits of sayings, phrases, mantra that you tell yourself. And then having new ones that excite you, like I serve, I deserve, or my income is constantly increasing, or unlimited good from an unlimited God in an unlimited way, or you know, making your own one up. There are so many money mantras that you can have, abundance mantras, and just getting it into like, what's your name? Helen Millar. money mantra, like it's safe for me to be wealthy and abundant. It's safe for me to be rich. It's safe for me to be rich and happy. It's safe to be a good person and rich. Like whatever your distorted view is, like shifting that and just making it like 1 + 1 is 2, like making it the thing. And you can save it on your desktop. You can have it as a next to your kettle on a post-it note. You can do it as a piece of artwork and have it on your wall. You can write it on your loo roll. You can do whatever's going to make you happy. Write it in the snow on the cars, graffiti it, tattoo it on your body, like whatever crazy ways you want to do that. You can also, when you get bill, if you still get bills through the post, you can draw love hearts on them and write, thank you, I'm so happy that I can pay you, rather than that kind of like you see the headed note paper and have that kind of feeling. You know, start to reprogram, re-imprint. You know, words are spells. They cast spells into your life. So writing on a bill is shifting it. You know how like in offices they had that paid stamp, like when you paid it, like I write paid and do love hearts around it in a pink neon gel pen. It stops me wanting to write fuck you on it. You know. And stopping myself if anybody says, oh, that's a nice coat. Oh, I got it in the sale. Even if I did, you know, just thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Does anybody have any final thoughts they want to share about what they're taking away? Maybe one per, if you can each share what you were taking away from today. Dana, yeah.
I have to drop off, so I think what I'm taking away from today is I wrote it down actually. I can be a good person and be rich. Even the word rich has such like it's like so yeah. But I've got to drop off, so I want to say thank you. It's so nice to connect with everybody and sending you all lots of love.
Thank you for being here, Dana. Bye bye. Who would like to go next? Jacqueline, yeah.
Oh, I'm just that last mantra. It's safe for me to be rich and happy. I'm all over that. I've already said it 100 times to myself, and I'm gonna, every time I take out my wallet, and I pay for something, I'm gonna think, oh, it's safe for me to be rich and happy.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Anthea, yeah.
I think for me, yeah, sticking some notes to my wall and maybe doing a mantra as well, just to, yeah, it's safe, I think, because then that cuts out the fear, doesn't it? So in fact, maybe I'll make some bunting. Ooh. This is decorations.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I was just going to say the same as Dana, whether it's safe for me to be wealthy and a good person, which feels really weird to say, so I want to say it more.
So what was it again? Tell me one more time.
It's safe for me to be wealthy and a good person.
So true. Word.
Word.
Word. Alice.
I'm I'm also gonna do some of those mantras, but the other thing that I'm going to try and do, because it's the second time you've said it before on a different course, and I meant to do it then, and I realised the day I didn't do it, is sort my wallet out, which is a old gold bum bag, absolutely like chock full of everything you listed, and every time I get it out I'm almost sweating because I just feel like everything's dropping out, and you know, so I'm going to sort that situation out, and yeah, I'm going to streamline my purse and maybe upgrade from a old gold bum bag, maybe something more grown up.
Fabulous, thank you. And Linda and Gail, I don't know who'd like to go next.
Okay.
Linda, yeah, go for it.
So I had already been thinking about this earlier in the day, but I was given this lovely sparkly pink purse. It's lived under the stairs for ages and I haven't used it. And I'm going to make this my everyday purse instead of keeping it for best. So I'd already been thinking about that before this call, so that I know that I really must now, so I will. And then the mantra I wrote down was, it is safe to be abundant and enjoy it.
Yes, like that very much. Thanks, Linda. And Gail, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just put at the end of my mantra, and it is for you too, because to remove some of the guilt, another, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's really deep. This stuff is so deep. It's so, you know, it takes us right down to like, who are we and why are we here and what are we here for? And what, you know, it's like, we're not here to suffer. Like, there are ups and downs, a part of life, absolutely, but we don't need to feel guilty and shame ourselves and live little and small and hide in the shadows. We are allowed to, you know, we are allowed to have it, have stuff, and it to get better and better and more and more. And if money is energy, like, you are worthy to hold lots of energy and be seen and it be safe. You know, we've gone through so much, like witch trials and all of that stuff, and it's not needed now. We can be the game changers. This lifetime is so epic. What we're doing is so magical and mystic, and we can do it with one nice hat at a time. So do please keep in touch. Do please let me know any wonderful things that happen. And this also goes to people who were on the replay. Please do let me know which bits resonated, what you're taking away. And next weekend, I'm holding a cacao ceremony. If anybody just to prepare for the solstice, I have a couple of spaces left. And for women with ADHD or think they may have ADHD, at the beginning of February, I have a workshop I'm co-running with somebody, amazing Jack's Ball in South London. And I have one space left for some one-to-one coaching. So if anyone's interested in that deep transformation piece, do drop me a message and we can have a chat and see if it's a good fit or not. Other than that, I have so much love for everyone in this group. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for making time and carving out. Do feel free to, you'll get the replay, so do feel free to rewatch it. Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties. And I know I've mentioned about a closing meditation, but I feel like we covered it. I feel like we're over time. I don't want to keep you much longer. So big love. Happy Christmas if you're celebrating it. Happy solstice. And if I don't see you before, Happy New Year. And thank you so much for being here. Do feel free to unmute and say goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Everyone.
you. Lovely to see
Thank you,
everyone.
Helen. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.